Welcome back to ZBCN Today. Zebec Network is gearing up for what might be one of the most important moments in its entire existence. And honestly, the timing of all of this could not be better, because the crypto market is clearly preparing for a new cycle where real-world utility is going to matter far more than hype alone. That's why this upcoming U.S. payments integration next week has the entire community holding its breath. We're not talking about a rumor, we're not talking about wishful thinking, and we're definitely not talking about some recycled partnership announcement that every other project pushes just to get a temporary pump. No, this is Zebec stepping into the territory of actual financial infrastructure, the sort of thing that affects payroll, banking, merchant systems, and enterprise-grade rails, the kind of development that forces big players to notice because it solves real friction points in the financial system. And what's interesting is that all the signals leading up to this moment show that the energy around Zebec has been building layer by layer. According to Simon B. London, there's a ZBCN takeover happening this Saturday in St. Louis, and the excitement around that alone has been insane. But what people don't realize is that this is just the surface-level spark. The deeper story, the one that actually matters for adoption, valuation, and long-term relevance, is what Dubs OneChain pointed out. Zebec has announced a major U.S. payments integration, and they didn't sugarcoat the wording. They didn't say collaboration, which implies testing or evaluation. They didn't say strategic partnership, which is usually corporate code for "we had a meeting." They used the word integration, which in the fintech and banking world means actual system-level merging, directly plugging into the pipelines that move value every day in the United States. When a company uses the word integration, they're talking about APIs that interact with payroll processors, rails that settle merchant payments, systems that move stablecoins across layers, engines that calculate tax inputs, and infrastructure that speaks directly with enterprise financial stacks. If any of those areas are truly being tapped into, Zebec stops being a DeFi protocol with a cool idea and starts becoming a core piece of financial plumbing. And that changes absolutely everything. Everything shared in this video is for educational and informational purposes only. This is not financial advice. Always do your own research before making any investment decisions. And honestly, that's a move most crypto teams don't have the discipline for. Usually teams push for big exchange listings, hoping for the clout and the short-term pump that comes with it. But what argues is that the sustainable way to build a lasting foundation is to launch the super app first, prove undeniable utility, onboard real users, demonstrate real revenue, and create an actual need for the token. Once that happens, the exchange doesn't elevate the project. The project forces the exchange to list it because the demand becomes impossible to ignore. When you reverse the usual strategy like this, a Tier 1 exchange listing becomes gasoline poured on a fire that's already burning, instead of a spark trying to ignite wet wood. It means that when ZBCN finally lands on a major exchange, it will be during a moment where adoption is already flowing through the system. People will be using the streaming engine, payroll automation will be scaling, merchants will be receiving real-time settlements, and institutions will be integrating on-chain workflows that previously seemed impossible. And that brings us straight into what might be the biggest part of this entire story: Zebec's relationship with Ripple and how the two ecosystems are fitting together in a way that almost seems architected from the beginning. According to ZBCN Man, this collaboration didn't just make noise, it broke the Internet of Value itself. And if you actually take a moment to understand how these pieces fit together, it starts making a lot of sense why people are calling this bigger than Solana's DeFi boom. Zebec isn't building a bridge on the XRP ledger, it's building natively. ZBCN is becoming the streaming engine that lives directly on XRP, powering real-time money movement with hooks, automation logic, and programmable cash flow that executes with every drip of value that moves across the ledger. When users stake ZBCN on XRP, they aren't just parking tokens. They're activating a yield engine backed by XRP liquidity with 10 to 15% potential, and they're gaining the ability to vote on system-level hooks for payroll automation, treasury flows, and enterprise payments. Every single transaction that streams through Zebec burns ZBCN in micro amounts, which creates real deflationary pressure built into the utility itself. There's no artificial burn event or marketing gimmick. The burning is tied directly to function and activity. It operates like a blockchain version of a small transaction tax that slowly squeezes supply as adoption grows. And when you combine that with Ripple's on-demand liquidity engine, things start to get ridiculous. USD converts instantly into XRP. That XRP begins streaming, literally in droplets, as real-time micropayments. Then the receiver gets real-time fiat through MasterCard integration. Instead of waiting 2 weeks for payroll, you can get paid every second. Instead of waiting 5 days for an international transfer, you can receive it instantly. Instead of dealing with expensive intermediaries, the chain itself becomes the intermediary. And then Uphold comes in with incentives that make people actually want to use the system instead of just watching it from the sidelines. Holding $50,000 of XRP qualifies users for a slice of the 100,000 ZBCN airdrop pool. Users earn 6% cashback in the US, 4% in XRP, 1% in ZBCN, and an additional 1% bonus up to $550 per month. These are the types of rewards that create behavioral conversion. People don't just speculate, they participate. Looking into late 2025, Zebec's target of achieving ISO 2022 compliance is a massive deal because bank-grade messaging standards are the barrier that separates crypto project from financial institution. When Zebec and Ripple reach that compliance level, they'll be able to plug into systems like Bank of America, tier processing, payroll rails, and Circle's USDC institutional flows. This is where the bigger vision starts to reveal itself. Zebec isn't trying to become another DeFi toy. It's trying to become the infrastructure layer that handles programmable cash flow for enterprises globally. The tokenomics support that vision as well. 93 billion tokens in circulation, with final unlocks completing in March 2026 and every single micropayment stream burning ZBCN as it moves. With over $30 billion in XRP providing liquidity, Zebec is positioning itself to become a settlement and automation engine at enormous scale. Consider the price action too. In May 2025, ZBCN was around 1.4 cents. It exploded in June to 7 cents, a massive 500% surge. Today, it sits near $0.0037, but analysts are eyeing $0.009 in the short term and $1 plus in full adoption scenarios. That might sound crazy until you factor in Lightseed Ventures, a firm that invested early into Ripple, backed Zebec's $35 million round, and is pushing for institutional custody support for ZBCN. With XRP as the settlement layer, Zebec as the cash flow engine, and ZBCN as the governance plus yield token, the architecture becomes clear. People are calling it the Netflix of money because it turns payments into streams instead of batches. And with a $50 trillion payroll market in its sights, even capturing 1 to 2% of that turns ZBCN into a $10 to $15 asset at current supply levels. When numbers start to scale like that, the market psychology shifts entirely. Now let's talk about this upcoming US payments integration, because that's where things start becoming monumental. Red Piranha broke down the top 3 possibilities, and each one would be a game changer in its own way. Zebec already processes over $500 million in payroll volume, but these integrations could push that into the trillions. The biggest and boldest possibility is FIS, the operator of WorldPay, one of the largest merchant processors on the planet, with over $150 trillion in settlement volume. If Zebec integrates with FIS, merchants gain instant USD settlement from on-chain rails, something unheard of in the current financial system. Over 1 million retailers would be able to accept streams, convert crypto to cash, and have access to ZPIN point-of-sale systems that fit into their existing workflows. This type of integration would handle the retail last-mile challenge and turn payroll into instantly spendable money. The second possibility is Visa Direct, the backbone of push-to-card systems serving over 4 billion endpoints worldwide. Streaming USDC through Visa Direct would create instant bank deposits, effectively eliminating ACH delays. Circle has already tested Zebec Visa plus State Street on ARC testnet, proving the viability of the system. With FedNow and RTP readiness baked in, this would strengthen Zebec's footprint in gig economy payments, cross-border settlements, and real-time worker payouts. The third possibility, and the most institutionally significant, is ADP, the largest payroll provider in the world, with $2.9 trillion in volume and 1 in 6 U.S. workers under its umbrella. Integrating Zebec directly into ADP Workforce Now would bring streaming payroll to over 1 million companies. With former ADP execs advising Zebec, the probability becomes very real. Hybrid wages with USD salaries and USDC bonuses could be embedded into payroll systems while staying completely compliant with IRS rules. That would give 25 million workers instant access to real-time payment rails without changing employer workflows. That's the definition of disruption. With the token trading around 0.0031 and sitting near the middle of the triangle range, the next moves are crucial. A climb towards 0.00416 would align with the 0.382 Fibonacci retracement level, a region representing a potential 17% rise. Sustaining momentum above that would open a path towards 0.00866, a massive 145% upside. However, if price continues sideways, it may retest the 0.00236 Fibonacci zone at 0.00345, which also lines up with horizontal support. A bounce there could lead to a run towards 0.00718, representing over a 100% gain. But if bears take control and price breaks below the lower trend line, all bullish setups get invalidated, exposing the token to deeper corrections near 0.00229, a 35% drop that would erase recent recovery gains. Currently, RSI sits around 45 to 47, indicating indecision with no extreme momentum. Volume is present, but conviction is lacking until a breakout confirms direction. So the bottom line is this: ZBCN is at a razor-sharp inflection point. A breakout above 0.00416 to 0.0047 triggers a bullish run towards 0.0070. 0.0086. Failure to defend 0.0032 to 0.0034 risks a bearish reversal. Combine that with the upcoming U.S. payments integration, Ripple collaboration, XRP liquidity, Uphold incentives, super app strategy, and trillion-dollar market opportunities, and it becomes clear that ZBCN is entering one of the most critical phases in its history. And that wraps up today's breakdown here at ZBCN Today. If you found this video helpful, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow and keeps us bringing you more daily updates on Zebec and the entire Web3 ecosystem. Drop your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear your take.